Eddie, firstly, could you update us on Tino Livramento, who had to be substituted in the second half on Saturday? How is it?
Yeah, no major update for you. He will be having a scan, I think, today at some point, and we'll understand the extent of the damage.
Hamstring?
Yeah, hamstring, yeah.
Looking ahead to Tuesday night, Manchester City, another competition for you to play in. The way that the draw was made, you're at home first, and then you go there next month for the second leg. A lot of people perhaps prefer to have the home leg second. That's what it's been like for you in your previous two semi-finals. But what sort of advantage can you give yourselves by being at St James's first?
Yeah, I think the natural preference is for the home game to be the second leg, just because you have a clear understanding of what you need to do and you have the home crowd with you. It's not like that for us this time. We need to use the home crowd for our advantage in the first game and try and give everything to impose ourselves on them in this home tie. It's going to be an important game for us. We really enjoyed the two-legged format last year. Even the sort of gap between games was quite good because you could detach yourself from the result and your focus goes away and then it comes back when it comes round. And it's very similar again this year. So we enjoyed that challenge. This is going to be a totally different one. I think Manchester City, the hardest team to play over two legs in the country. Pep, I'm sure, will tactically have something ready for us, and we'll have to be at our very best to try and get through.
When you look at City's squad at the moment, they've got quite a few big-name players unavailable because of injury and Africa Cup of Nations. Brought a lot of young players in as well, and also added Antoine Semenyo. How hard is it to prepare to play them, because you perhaps maybe don't know what their squad's going to look like from one game week to week, and obviously they made lots of changes anyway for the FA Cup at the weekend?
Yeah, I think they're a very difficult team to prepare for anyway, because, as I say, they change and tinker a lot with the tactical setup that they have, and of course you're quite right to say they've got a few players missing. So yeah, difficult team to read, difficult team to know how to plan and prepare for, to play against, but we will have our things in place. And of course the priority for us is always ourselves and what we do and how we can hurt them. So that will be uppermost in our thoughts, and it's important in the home game that we are ourselves and we give the best account of ourselves that we can.
Thanks, Teresa. Keith?
Eddie, you had a number of players that played the full 100 and 120 on Saturday. Will you have to think about whether they are able to go again so soon?
Yeah, I will. I'll have to have discussions with the medical team, performance team, the players themselves, because the physical well-being and the energy levels, I think, are the utmost importance in this game. So it wasn't ideal, the 120 minutes, certainly from our perspective. We knew this game was here, but we wanted to get through. I think that was the priority, and whatever it took, we had to do. And then we had to, the last couple of days, to look back and reflect, and to then plan this game with hopefully a fresh team and one that can play how we want to play.
I think I asked you the same question about Fab's injury last week, but with him and now potentially Tino missing, what is that going to do? What kind of knock-on effect is that going to have for the rest of this transfer window for you?
Yeah, again, we'll have to wait and see. We need to know the full extent of the injury first, and then we'll have to make decisions based in line with what we know on other injuries and timescales and returns. And yeah, of course, the transfer window plays into that.
Really good week for Harvey Barnes, 2 against Leeds and then 2 again at the weekend there. It feels like both himself and Anthony Gordon now really contributing a really kind of crucial part of the season for you.
Yeah, Harvey's in great form. I'm really pleased for him. He's red hot in front of goal. I mean, the goals that he's scoring are different types as well, so it's good to see, and really pleased with Anthony's contribution as well. I think you're quite right to say that. It was his cross for Harvey's header, it was his pass for Sandro's penalty. So good to see our wingers producing productivity. I think that's something that we maybe missed early season, and when we've got Jacob Murphy and Anthony Langer hopefully not far away as well, our firepower in the wide areas is hopefully getting up to full strength.
Thanks.
Thank you. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Is there an update on Emil Krafth? Because being so versatile, he would solve a few problems for you if he was available at the moment.
Yeah, he would. He's a big miss for us at the moment. No, there's no major update. He's trying to come back from a knee problem. he's not feeling absolutely at his best currently. Day to day, he feels slightly different. So I've got no sort of definitive return date for him. We're taking it day by day, hoping that he can improve and we can see him back very quickly. He's always been such a reliable performer for, and as you say, you're quite right, different positions. He gives a versatility that we need. So we're desperate for him back. But we'll just have to wait and see how long that takes.
And just following on from what you were saying about, the dynamic of the two legs, how do you manage that, both before in terms of selection on the touchline? If it's 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, how do you balance going for the advantage versus staying in the tie?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time you can plan and prepare your sort of psychology in terms of what you think on that. But I think the game itself will sort of lead you which way to go. I think that's the best way to take it. Of course, I think it probably impacts more the second game than the first game. I think our view in the first game is we want to try and win. We want to try and win the game independently without thinking too far ahead. I don't think that's wise to do. And then the second leg will take care of itself.
And just finally, being in all the competitions with all the games, perhaps one of your hardest managerial tasks, but maybe the most enjoyable?
This game.
What, just this season as a whole?
Yeah, definitely, yeah, in terms of the game schedule and everything that gets thrown at you, I think, during this time of year with, as you say, various competitions, your focus is, well, for me, it's laser-like in terms of game by game, taking it a step by step. But for the players, I think it's a huge challenge because we've just played 120 minutes, or some of the lads have just played 120 minutes. Then you've got 2 days to recharge the batteries and go again. It's incredibly demanding on them, both physically and mentally. But I'd like to think by kick-off, we'll be ready for this next one.
Thank you. Damien?
Morning, Eddie.
Damien.
Given where your managerial career started and the fact that you'll have gone up against the likes of Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, Luis Enrique in the space of a few months, do you ever allow yourself to reflect on the journey that sort of put you into that company?
Very rarely, Damien, if I'm honest. I think occasionally someone might send me something that reminds me of it feels like a long time ago, to be honest, where we started. And but I've said so many times I wouldn't change that at all. The grounding that we had, the education we had in the lower leagues was incredible, really. And sort of going through the leagues has given us a unique insight into the football pyramid. And, we really learnt the hard way in terms of successes and failures and so many good learnings for us through the years that eventually, through, I think, hard work and dedication, we've ended up where we are now. But then you can't look at yourself as inferior. You can't think of your journey. You just have to think of the here and now, and you have to think of trying to win. And that's all we are trying to do on a daily basis, is trying to come out the right side of things. But our education, I think, has been invaluable to us.
Okay. We'll go to Gary, Craig and then Lee, please.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Given the way to get your hands on silverware, which you managed to achieve last season, it's going to take some effort in everything they've got to prize it out of your hands, in it from City.
Yeah, we're very proud to have won the competition last year. Every experience we went through, we look back on now with huge pride and positivity. None more so than the two-legged semi-final against Arsenal, which was, I think, a brilliant execution from the players in terms of dealing with the away leg first. And then our professionalism, having a lead, and that second leg I thought was a superb professional display. So I think we learnt a lot from those two legs, and we're going to need all of that experience to take into this one, because it's very, very different games against a different opponent, of course. But the fact we're playing at home first, slightly different dynamic. But the home leg last year against Arsenal, the atmosphere there was incredible. Especially my memory is when we score late in the game to sort of seal the game. Yeah, great scenes. And we're going to need all of that again from the crowd, all the energy, the positivity to help us in this first leg.
I'll just check one thing as well. I know you keep being asked about Matt Target. Can I just check, does that run until have you got until the end of the window to call him back, or is there a cut-off point before that, a certain earlier deadline for you to make a decision?
Yeah, but I believe there's a cut-off point. But I think Ross has been in regular dialogue with Matt's agent. We'll make a decision on that very soon.
Okay, just a reminder on single questions where you can, guys. Try to fit it within 20 minutes. So we'll go to Craig, please.
Morning, Eddie. Games against Manchester City naturally bring the subject I'm about to mention sort of into focus in terms of infrastructure and the club and the journey. And before Christmas, you said that you would like to see progress in 2026 on an announcement with regards to the stadium and the training ground for everything it's said about that journey. Have you had any sort of feedback or reassurance with regards those projects since you made the comments?
I think my comments were in answering a question. So there were no bold, massive statement from me, and I think the headlines with those comments I thought were blown up out of all proportion, to be honest. I think I'm supportive of the club moving forward with a new stadium, with a new training ground, but all that work is still going on behind the scenes, and the people responsible for those dealings are dealing with it. So I think for me, I'm supportive of it. Whatever time it takes is the right time to make the right decisions, because I think, as I said, I think in my previous answer, if they're rushed and we make the wrong decision, then we're punished for a long, long time. So whatever time it takes to get it right, I'm fully supportive of.
Lee?
Morning, Eddie. On transfers, you touched on it on Saturday night, but given there was money spent in the summer, is that a sort of hurdle you've got to get over and convince people, or is everyone reading off the same page at the club, the money men and the football people, to ensure you get what you need in this window? Because obviously you need maybe a little bit of help before the window shuts. I
think regarding transfers, everyone's fully supportive. I think the problem for us is PSR, as we've said many, many times. So I don't think there's any issue of anyone saying, well, we can't do this or we can't do that. It's what we can do and what we can't do. And I think the key thing for us to consider is business now, be business in the summer, value for money now, value for money in the summer, and signing the right player. Because if you sign the wrong player, that, again, following on from my previous answer, you're carrying that then for a 3, 4, 5 year contract. Are the right players available in January? So I think there's a lot to discuss and a lot to consider for our short-term need against the long-term decision for the football club.
Thank you. Going to Jordan, Dominic and Luke.
Ty, just on the number of injuries, how willing are you to call upon Alex Murphy in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think Alex is working hard. He's worked really intensely on his game. We've tried to develop him, maybe not so much around games, although he has played quite a few 23s games this year. It's been more a case of developing him in training and making sure he's ready for his opportunity when it comes. I thought he did well against Fulham in the Carabao Cup, and we'll definitely use him at the right time for us and for him. So I think he's an important player now. We have, as everyone knows, big injuries to our defensive back line. So any player that can cover in that area is hugely important.
Thank you. Dominic?
Morning, Eddie. In previous seasons, Antoine Semenyo would have been cup-tied for Man City, and you frustratedly had Anthony Gordon, Martin Dubravka cup-tied for the 2023 final. In that light, just how do you feel about the rule change that makes him available, but also if you were to bring anyone in January, recall anyone from a loan, they'd be available for future cup games?
Yeah, it was nice to find out that rule had changed after finding out they had signed him. Yeah, I have to say that's probably one rule change I probably wouldn't be supportive of at this current moment, but Antoine's had an incredible season. I'm a big admirer of his, and he scored on his debut, so fair play to him, and I think Manchester City have signed a very, very good player.
Luke?
How important are the cup competitions for Newcastle at this stage of their evolution? The Premier League title is obviously probably a step too far to win at the moment, but how does the cup competition bring out the best in your team and bring out the best in Newcastle United as well at the moment?
But they're very important to us, as you say, because the Premier League is an incredible competition and incredibly tough to win, and we're not in that position currently. So then we have to look at what else we can win. And of course the Carabao Cup, after last year, the feeling that gave everybody connected with the club, a long wait for Silverware. I don't have to say how important last year was to us, and now we're looking for that same again, and we're looking at every opportunity we can take. That was why it's so important to get through against Bournemouth. Of course, the Champions League is a totally different thing, but we're loving that competition and we want to stay in it as long as we can. We'll take that step by step. So yeah, we're looking for Silverware if we can, and whatever opportunity we have, we'll try and grab it.
Thank you. I've got Chris, Louise and Martin, please.
Morning, Eddie. When exactly do you expect to have Dan Byrne back available? And I think you mentioned Jacob Murphy and Anthony Alanga earlier. Could they be involved tomorrow night?
The two wingers have a possibility. We'll see how they get on today. Dan will be a couple of weeks further back.
Okay, Louise.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Do you feel that just lately Sandro Tonali might have been kind of fighting too many fires in midfield? Do you think that's been part of a problem? He's had maybe too much to do because of perhaps it's been wonderful to watch, but it's been a bit kamikaze at times.
I'm not sure kamikaze is a great word for,
yeah,
for me to support in our midfield. No, I don't think so. I think our midfield actually has been performing pretty well. The last few weeks we've had a big focus on trying to get more goals and assists from our midfield. Great to see Joe pop up with a couple of really big goals. Bruno's been a regular goal scorer for us this year. So I think it's been performing better in a sort of goal creating and goal scoring output. Defensively, I think there's a few areas for us to improve, not just in our midfield, but in our back line as well. And I think after the last two games, as entertaining as it's been, we know that we need to do better from that viewpoint.
Thank you.
Martin?
Hi, Eddie. How hard is it to attack 4 competitions with PSR limitations hanging over the club?
Yeah, I think it's hard for us this year. I think there's no doubt we had a good recruitment drive to try and strengthen our squad, give us more options, but still we're finding whenever you get injuries to one part of the team, which we have had for now a couple of months, that does stretch your resources. Then it stretches you even more because you have to play the same players in those positions, and then you have more chance of injuries. So yeah, I think psychologically, I have to say, I think the lads have performed really well in that respect. We've had a lot of games, and especially lately, I think there's been a freshness mentally going into those games. I've been very impressed with how we've handled different situations. Bigger test to come, though, because this month is not going to change. So we have, but great games. I have to say that there's no negativity from us. These are the games that we want to be involved in, and I want the players to be excited about every time they step onto the pitch.
Thank you. Kieran and then Sean.
Morning. Was there a moment you thought James Trafford might be on his way here, and do you think that ship has now sailed?
I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. I'm a big fan of his, and I think Manchester City are really in a great position with the 2 goalkeepers that they have. They've probably got more than that, but the 2 ones that have been involved this season, fantastic goalkeepers. So no, I don't look at it that way. I wish him all the best in his career, and if he plays tomorrow, we'll look forward to going up against him.
Sean, to finish, please.
Just following on from Kieran's question, Eddie, how happy are you with your current goalkeeping situation? And obviously, Aaron Ramsdale's played every game in the Cup so far, so will he start tomorrow, or will it be a case of bringing Nick back in as your number 1? Yeah,
we'll see. We'll make a decision on that. I think very happy with both goalkeepers. I thought it was a really nice moment for Aaron on Saturday. He had quite a bit to do in the game. I thought he did well. Big penalty saves, big moment. I'm sure that'll endear him to everyone connected with the club. I think he enjoys those big battles. So I was delighted for him personally. And I think Nick's come back into the team and done really well. So I think we've got real strength and depth and 2 great professionals holding such a key position.